is the car, this is the track, and this is why I do and do not want kids at the same time. So, yes, this is not Long Beach, and this guy right here is Portu, who I said hi to. Haven't seen this guy in forever. Our first race is actually at Mugello, and this is the last race before Long Beach, where I begin my journey of trying to stay safe and prepping. As the title said, I'm looking for safety rating. I'm getting close to B class. I would like to be A class, and earning safety rating in any series, especially like a road series, I would say, is going to start with knowing your track limits. And they can be different for every corner. It's kind of annoying, but they are typically different for every corner. For these two, I think you just have to have one tire on the red, white, and green curbing. Same thing here, one tire on the red, white, and green curbing for both of these, so you can eat a lot of these sausages. For some of these, it does get a little bit different. Sometimes it's like the exhaust pipe. If your exhaust pipe goes over that curbing, then you get an off track. For most of these corners, they're pretty standard. I'm just trying to not push the car so much that I actually end up spinning the car, because that gives you 2 incident points, and incident points will stack up pretty quickly. Incident points in qualifying do count towards your safety rating, and even the practice as well. All of these will affect your safety rating. You would think that that's something everybody knows, but I see it all of the time where people are just so confused why they're losing safety rating when they have like 0 incidents in race, and that's typically why. You fuck around in qualifying, you fuck around in practice, you'll probably end up losing safety rating. Now, you can actually cut all of the green on that first curbing. However, that second curbing, you can't go onto the green with both tires. Why they change it like that by corner, it's beyond me. I have no idea. For most tracks, you just really have to experiment and test each and every exit and entry. It can take a lot of time, but that's what I find to be the best way to find the limits. Now, crossing the line here for our qualifying, it's a 1:49.8, which is a really good time. It's better than what I was doing the last time that I was at this track. It's good enough for P3 here. We're car number 2, so we should be, up here somewhere. And the car behind, not that far behind. The cars ahead, not that far ahead. Joey is actually the car directly ahead of us, and Portu put it on pole. There he is. You can see his Porsche up ahead. Lap 1, let's not botch this start. And if you've been watching, you probably know that I've gotten better at my starts, and look at that. It's good, but Joey has an absolute monster start ahead of me, flying past Portu. I'm going to try and follow Joey around the outside, but Portu moves over, so I go to the inside. Portu then reacts and moves back over there. So a little bit of reactionary moving from there. It's going to kill my speed. I'm not going to hold it against him too much. That does send me too wide into turn 1, so I'm going to have to hold a super tight line, which is okay. Difficult to make that one work around the outside for car number 7. I take a semi-defensive line into the first chicane just to make sure that he doesn't do anything silly. Pretty safe lines here from everybody on the first lap. It's really easy to take too much curb on the first lap and send the car into a slide with cold tires. So Portu is definitely being a bit safer than me here. You can see he's pretty much completely avoiding the curbs. I'm still hitting them a little bit. Joey is probably full sending it because he's already a second ahead coming through the final corner of the first lap, and Portu goes pretty deep. That's going to give him a good run because, he's able to get the car, pointed and get on throttle earlier, but it's not going to make the difference between my advantage that I have just from having slipstream. So I should be able to get pretty close to him as we head into turn 2 on lap number 1. The car behind is sticking with us, though. He's about 6/10 behind us. He's in the slipstream. I'm not going to do anything silly here. Really, or not a super long race, but it's a 13-lap race, and this is only the second lap, so there is a decent amount of time left. I don't need to be fighting with Portu and risk losing Joey. I think that Portu has the pace. I know he does. He put it on pole. He's fast. He just has to get into the rhythm, and then we should be able to follow him through to catch Joey. Joey at the front, Portu behind, me in third place, and the car behind is still hanging with us by the time we get to lap number 4. However, that's going to change because heading into the quick series of right-handers, and you can see that there's a lot of gravel on the track. It's like a new iRacing update. There's debris, and he's going to lose grip, totally miss the apex. I'm willing to bet that he had to lift for way longer than he typically would, and that drops him off pretty significantly. It's about 1.5 seconds for the slipstream to really be kicking in. And taking a look at the relative, you can see that he is now 1.7 behind us, so he's just out of slip. I'm still inside of Portu's, and Portu's inside of Joey's, so this train at the front is looking good. Joey set an absolutely monster lap just now of a 50.04. Really good time for race pace this early on in the race as well. Gotta love to see that. Happy for Joey. He's fucking killing it. Through the final corner of lap number 4, and once again, Port2 going very deep. That's going to allow us to, honestly, we kind of nailed that line. We are within 7/10 of him now, so we gained quite a bit of time. That suck is going to keep sucking. Lap number 9 comes around. We're starting to get closer to him, within about half of a second of him now, and that new iRacing update that I mentioned just briefly earlier, you can see the gravel kicking up. It does make you lose grip, and dirty tires are much more dangerous now. Through the uphill right-hander, Port2 is all of the way in the dirt. I'm going to brake early for this corner. I don't think he does. I don't think he takes into account the gravel. He's going to slide out, and we manage to just get around him there safely. Nothing lost, really. I think we did get an off track there on the exit, but yeah, that moves us up into P2. We didn't even lose that much time to Joey. I think we lost maybe about 4/10 to Joey, which is honestly nothing in the grand scheme of things. And it's just a really cool interaction with this new iRacing update, the debris shit, to be able to take that into account and use it to your advantage. Like, I broke probably about 30 meters earlier there to avoid the fate that Port2 met, as I did also go into the dirt just a little bit, but it does make a difference, especially when the dirt is on the outside tire for the next corner, because that's where you need the grip to be as you go through that corner. You know, the weight is mostly on the outside wheel. Now, this is where stuff is going to open up for me a bit. I think Joey cuts that first one just a little bit too much. It doesn't even look like he does, but he has to pull over, serve a slowdown. That is going to open up an opportunity for us as the race is winding down. This is the penultimate lap, and the gap has closed now to about a second, which is going to put us back in the slipstream. We would have to have an absolutely monster lap, and not only that, we would have to have Joey make a mistake, at least like one mistake that would allow us to get some sort of big gains on him. And coming through the final corner, there is one from him. I'm kind of going to follow him out there. We both get the car turned around, but that is going to net positive for me. I think I probably gained about 1/10 or even more than that there. I'm in his slip. You can see him swerving a little bit to try and deter me out of it, but this is heading on to the final lap, chasing Joey down. There's nobody behind us. The only place to look is forward, and we've kept our incidents down. We're at 4 incidents. I'm okay to get a little bit more than that. It's hard to drive you go into a race saying, I just want to have 0 incidents, but then when an opportunity like this opens up, you just say, fuck it, everything's out the window, full ship every corner, we're going to try and win this thing. And we're sticking with him at the moment. We actually get a slightly better exit than him through that first chicane. It looks like he drove a bit wide, maybe lost a little bit of traction. That brings us back up to 6/10 now. We're catching him up. This feels fucking good. I'm telling you, beating or catching your teammate, like somebody like Joey as well, who is just, I mean, you guys have seen him. He's fast as hell. It's a great feeling being able to catch this guy, especially when he's making mistakes. I can see that he's under pressure. However, I am not the best under pressure either, and as we go up the fast right-hander, I am going to push a little bit too early, get that left tire into the dirt, similar to what Port2 did. I'm not risking it. I'm lifting, I'm braking early. I do not want to lose traction and go spinning out, possibly fall back to Port2, who's 6 seconds behind me. I'm just not risking it. So I fall back, accept the fact that I will be in P2. Joey deserves the win anyway. Great launch, great race to him. But he does this fucking thing that he always does. He always tries this. Congratulations on your win, Joey. I tried. I got on the brakes as soon as I realized. I was looking at chat, and he always does this. Here's an example of him doing this in a race previously. I kept in mind that he was probably about to serve that, and he brakes completely to try and get us the win. I'm trying to bait him. Like, the cars are coming, Joey. We need to go. So I'm trying to... There we go. I faked him out into moving, and then he gets the win, and I get second. The way it should be. He always... I mean, we kind of do it to each other. It's him more often, the one in front, who's doing it to me. But when I am in front, I try and do the same thing. So Port2, Joey, and myself, the top 3. We gained I rating. We gained safety rating. It is a net positive all over the place. Now, this is the track that I am really worried about. It's Long Beach, and I'm trying a different strat. I'm starting in P16. I didn't qualify. I've heard countless stories about, how this is the worst track ever, how people lose, like, all of their safety rating, all of their I rating. I've never driven this track before. I did about probably 15 laps of practice before this, about 30 minutes, way off the pace. I'm just going to let everybody go past me, see what happens, try and avoid any incidents if I can. Try and avoid as many as possible. Seems to be the right decision already. Don't know what's happening here, but as I approach, I'm very careful. I mean, I'm parking the car, literally. I don't have much of an option. There is a full-on traffic jam. That was P4, who pit maneuvers the guy ahead of him. Car number 16 here, just making a dive about 18 cars back, and he's not going to get the car stopped, pretty obviously. Everybody gets fucked up here. Somebody actually manages to go up the inside. By the time I get there, it's literally dead stop traffic, just waiting for people to go through. I actually get in reverse at one point because I'm scared somebody's going to run into me. But we go through A-okay. I think we actually ended up moving forward there by some amount of positions. I'm not quite sure. Then I almost hit the wall. Just an example of how off of the pace and uncomfortable with this track I was at this point. But the good thing about tracks like this is that there's no off tracks. So you can't drive off the track because there's a wall there. You can hit the wall and then you'll end up getting 2 incident points, but you can't actually drive off the track. This guy is spinning around in the middle of the track though, and he is going to get absolutely sent into the air by, I don't know, that blue car. Thankfully, I was far enough back once again that I'm able to avoid that, slow down a ton, and it seems like, I mean, that's a lot of carnage already. I think that was most of the carnage of this race. Much later on in the race, this guy just completely sends his car into the wall. Thankfully, he resets before anybody else can run into him, and I was kind of in that group that was coming up, so I managed to get through there okay. Everybody's kind of all over the track though. In case that guy didn't reset, he was very quick to reset though. Props to him for just like immediately pulling the car into the pits. Lap number 16, we are approaching the end of the race. There's only 19 laps. These guys ahead of me have been battling forever. Car number 2 looking up the inside, and he's gonna get it done. 9 was not super happy about that move. I don't think there was anything wrong with that move, but coming up to the very next corner, and 9 is gonna send it from about probably 2/10 back. Like, this is just not smart, and sure enough, he's gonna lock up. Then he gets hit into a spin by car number 2. Once again, we're far enough back, no problem for us. We're just settling back, letting these guys get their bearings again. And the next and then I run into the back of that guy, but it was a 0 times, so not too big of an issue. We are alive. We have no incidents still. We have 0 incidents at our first Long Beach race. Lap number 18, the penultimate lap. It's a 19-lap race. We're coming around to start our final lap. 0 incidents. Let me repeat that again. 0 incidents, and I'm going to spin the car on the hairpin, run into the wall. That gives me 2 incidents. The car behind is a lapped car, car number 19, so I'm not going to lose a position for that, but I did get 2 incidents, sadly. Nobody's fault but my own. The next car behind is 5 seconds behind as we head on to the final lap, and that's big enough of a gap that I don't really have to do anything silly. And we cross the line in P10 on the next lap. Let's fucking go. 2 incidents, not bad. And P10, I finished P10. I literally did nothing, and I finished P10. I gained 0.11 safety rating, so I'm almost to B class. The iRating is okay. The loss is not as bad as I would have expected to start from the back. The guy at the front was hauling ass. Did a 20.2, which was kind of my new goal. So I'm going to try a different strat for the next race, but I need to practice in order to execute that strat. And that strat is to basically get up to pace and run at the front safely. So you can see I'm doing some practice laps here. I eventually get down into the 20s, and Joey ends up hopping into the practice as well with us because he wants to drive some as well. So he's behind us, and I don't know what lap this is, but we are heading across to kind of finally put in a good lap. I think I've gotten the bearings of this track down, braking just before the 300 here and taking it very, very slow, light braking. Start trailing before you start turning in, and you'll feel that front tire grip up. Through here, you really want to kind of apex this late, like that's a late apex around that fountain, so you are able to get on the throttle early, eat the hell out of that curb. You won't end up hitting this wall, it's weird. Go over this curb. You want the center of your car to go over that curb, otherwise you end up kind of falling off to the left side. Braking pretty early for this corner. It's really about trailing off early and getting on throttle early there. As minimal braking as you can here. You want to stay pretty tight and still get the car opened up to the left. I actually kind of didn't open it up quite enough, but you want to kill the speed and just whip it around. If you know how to do hand over hand, that's the place to do it. 20.2 as we cross the line there, which is the same pace that the winner of the last race was doing. So I was pretty happy with that. Hopped into qualifying for the next race, and I do want to try and compete. However, I'm going to end up hitting the wall there. It gives me a 0 times, so that doesn't actually hurt my safety rating, but it does kill our qualifying. So our first lap goes through, which was total dog cheeks. It's a 21.9, which is a second and a half about slower than I was expecting myself to do. So we're starting in P20. We're actually further back than we were for the last race when we didn't even qualify. not quite sure where this one is going to go, but I'm kind of chasing that same mentality of I don't want to do anything risky. This is for safety rating. Into the first corner, lifting extremely early, braking early as well, and sure enough, up ahead, you can see somebody locking up on the inside. He's literally as close to the inside as he possibly can be, and there's death once again. Jeff Saville in the middle there, just getting absolutely shafted by everybody, and somehow I still move down a position there, so I'm down into P21. I guess cars found their way past me. I don't know. I don't care. Lap number 2, we're still kind of in the same place. I do actually end up making a move just because I felt that I was definitely faster than some of these guys. So if an opportunity opens up in as easy of a place as turn 1, I'm probably going to end up taking it. That's really like the only overtaking opportunity, or the best one, I should say. And car number 19 spinning out through the very fast right-hander about halfway through the track. He is going to have damage, and we're going to end up scooping up that position from him as, I mean, he's still kind of recovering there, or not even really recovering. I guess he's just trying to get to the pits. So that should move us up into position 20, I believe. Lap number 3, car number 15, heading towards that same corner where the last guy spun out. Actually, yeah, within that same corner. Car ahead goes into the wall, collects him. Car number 12, who caused all that havoc at the beginning, gets held up. That's 3 cars on the inside. That should move us up a few positions as well, potentially P16. And on board with Joey here on lap number 4, a couple of cars behind him just makes a monster dive up the inside of the hairpin. Simultaneously, Joey is spinning out just due to spinning out on that corner, and this guy is full throttling into somebody parked on the wall. We pick up 3 positions there, so move up to P13 now. Let's go. We've only made 1 overtake, and we've gained 8 positions. Lap number 8, and let's make that 2 overtakes as I'm looking up the inside of car number 20 here. Not quite gonna get it. I'm like really battling to slow the car down as I realize he is not going to give that position up, and then I run into the back of him, and that is going to give me 4 incident points, which fucking sucks, man. I feel like I was driving a really clean race. I broke a little bit too late there, just pushed it harder than I needed to, and I settle back after that, because if I get any more incident points, I'm probably losing safety rating. So we crossed the line there in P13. Not the worst thing in the world, but it could have been better. The results, we're losing a little bit of I rating, but we still gain safety rating, 3.69. We're going up. We're still netting positive at Long Beach, so it can be done. Next race, just briefly going to show you, because there wasn't a lot that happened. Lap number 1, I don't know why I decided to go through the fountain, literally in the dirt. There's people dying ahead of me. Somehow I managed not to touch anybody there, and since there's no off tracks, driving through the fountain doesn't give me an incident point, and I actually end up settling into a train and just kind of riding out this entire race, and boom, that was a 0 times race. So we gained 0.17 for that. I think we ended in P13 in that one. There wasn't much to show, but there were big safety rating gains, and sometimes you just have to sacrifice I rating for safety rating. Now, qualifying for the next race. Can we finally put in a qualifying lap? Braking at that sign. Don't want to get your car over that red line too much. You will get a slowdown. Avoiding that wall, that's the 0 times that typically kills me on qualifying. Opening up this corner, getting on full throttle as soon as you possibly can, moving back over to the left and eat this curb, eat the hell out of this curb. You won't touch this wall, you just gotta trust the process. Go over the middle of this curb. I go a little bit too far left there. That'll lose us a bit of time, but it's nothing major, and we kept grip pretty well as well. Braking at the 300 there, getting really close to that wall. And I could have been pushing out a bit more to the right here. I keep it pretty narrow. You can end up losing grip as it's kind of off camber there, and I just kind of opted to hold it tighter and play it safe, because I still hadn't put in a qualifying lap at this point. I just want to get on the grid somewhere nice and see if I can run like a 0 times race from the front of the grid, or just somewhere that's not literally the back of the grid, having to look out for incidents constantly and just trying to avoid people. I want to try and run hot laps with some fast people. That's my goal here, and get a good position. Like, I want to gain safety rating and I want to gain I rating at the same time. So we're coming up to the line. Could this be a lap that will do something for us? It's a 20.36. That's pretty good. That puts us on P3. Danny Hubner up ahead of us, barely ahead of us, and the car behind just barely behind. So we're going to have potentially a really tight race here. Like I said, though, it's very hard to overtake, so everything will typically kind of go down on the first lap, or incidents that happen later. Great launch for us. We're flying past the car on the inside, but so is the guy who started behind us. He's actually moved from P4 up to P2, so he's jumped myself and Danny. I'm kind of looking up the inside, but I don't really want to make that move. Braking a little early just because I always see death here, and we actually end up getting hit from behind. Car number 16 gets hit by the car behind him, and it's kind of like a pendulum effect, I guess you could say. We maintain the lead ahead of both of these guys, but we do get a 4 times for that, for contact, which was very unfortunate. So we're starting this race off with some incidents, not great. The car behind going too wide through that corner, very bold. Lap 1 is the time to do that, I would say, though, and he is going to make that move work for himself. I think he was probably faster than that guy, so I understand why he's making that move. But yes, we do have 4 incident points at the moment. We have a pretty big gap behind, though, and about a second to the car ahead, who is a 5.3K driver. The guy at the front, Juan Gomez, is just stupidly fast. Like, this was by far the fastest person I saw all week. And throughout this race, he was putting in consistent 119s, which I wasn't really seeing anybody else do. So he was very, very quick. By the time lap 6 comes around, we're about a second, a little bit over a second behind the car ahead. I'm trying to drive as clean as I can and kind of balance out, you know, not risking my life too much as well as maintaining the pace. And I find this track to be kind of like, what is it? Mount Panorama, Bathurst, where once you lock in, it feels impossible to hit a wall. Like, you are on rails the entire time. And I also have to say that this was my favorite track of the season so far. I have absolutely loved everything about this track, the racing on it, just it reminds me of Mount Panorama, but it feels faster to me for some reason. I'm not quite sure. There's not as much elevation change. Maybe that has something to do with it. Either way, learning this track and driving it right now has been like rejuvenating for me. Sometimes, you know, you just find this track that makes you enjoy driving again. Like Nordschleife did that for me, learning Nordschleife. Really learning any track kind of does that for me. You get that feeling of getting better at something and just remembering why I love driving, you know, enjoying the car and not being quite so clinical, just driving, surviving, and going fast. Now, that being said, around the hairpin, for the 6th time, we almost slip out there. The car behind actually has quite a moment as he hits the wall with his rear end, and he was on for a very good lap there, so that'll actually pull him off from us pretty nicely, and there's a car behind him as well who's kind of keeping him under pressure. By lap number 8, he's back on our tail. I wasn't doing the greatest laps of all time, not gonna lie. My last lap was a 20.6, his was a 20.3, so 3/10 faster as we cross onto lap number 9, and he's in the slipstream. He's 7/10 behind. If he gets any closer than this, there is a real chance that he could be looking for a move in these next few laps on turn 1, so I have to separate myself. The main place to do that is the infield, right? And for whatever reason, this first sector, I was feeling really, really fast, and it was typically the second half of the track where I was falling back to him and kind of losing time to the car ahead. We managed to keep a very similar gap this race and actually have a really good run around the hairpin, which when you nail this hairpin, that can give you a 1/10.5 to 2/10 easily, and in this case it does. We actually open that gap up to about a second, and we run basically our best lap of all time, which is a 20.2. Lap number 18, this is the penultimate lap. We're also catching the leader at this point, or not the leader, excuse me, we're catching P2. The leader is fucking gone. He's running 19s and 20 flats, like, that's beyond me. I'm not worried about him, but it would be really cool to catch this guy. Similar thing to what I was talking about with Joey, where, you know, you're doing this for safety rating, you're doing this to be safe, but then you see the possibility of getting an overtake on like the last lap, or like, you know, I've been putting this work in all race. This guy's been making just enough mistakes, and I've been making just not enough that I'm able to catch up to him. Our pace is looking good. We're running low 20s. We're in a good spot here. Half a second as we come around the hairpin for the final time. If we nail this, we should be able to potentially look for a move somewhere on this lap. We're 4/10 behind him. We've absolutely gapped the guy behind who had not a great lap that last lap. On to the final lap. See if we can make it happen. We just need to run clean. Not really a lot of overtaking opportunities, but they're definitely there, especially if you get within like a 10th of somebody, you know, you could always send it into any corner. It's the last lap. Stupid things happen. I could be stupid. He could mess up. He could fall under pressure, and already it doesn't look like he's taking the greatest line through there, holding it really tight. We're gaining on him all of the way through this first sector. He's avoiding a lot of that curb. I'm feeling pretty confident at this point. Onto throttle, okay, I think I delayed it a little bit there, but this is where the test is really gonna go. My worst corner, get close to the outside, and I just don't get on throttle early enough, or I don't release the brakes early enough. I overslow the car, lose about 2/10 to him there, and with half a second between the two of us, it's way too far to make a dive from this position, which is really your best chance. So we just follow him through to the end, getting pretty close to him by the hairpin, but there's not really much you can do to make a move happen there. So we cross the line in P3. It's a podium still, and apart from that 4 times in turn 1, it was a 0 incident race. So we actually gained quite a bit. P3, let's freaking go. Safety rating, we didn't gain so much, but we're only 0.1 away from B class. I rating is huge, baby. 78, so it's possible you can run a clean race and gain I rating. And once you get comfortable on any car track combo, I think that's the best way to do it. Just run at the front, run clean, run fast. Oftentimes when you get into accidents, it may be because, you know, you're not super comfortable and you end up kind of over braking. Now, this race is the total polar opposite of what you just saw. The car ahead is the guy who was in P2 in that last race. So we just had this fantastic race with this guy. Very respectful, very good, clean racing. And now on the first lap of the next race, we're right behind him, looking to go around the outside immediately of him. Not going to make it work, so we fall back a little bit and let him go ahead. And then, oh god, I brake a little too late there and just absolutely murder him. Like, oh god, I hate watching that. I fucking punt him around to the side. And in my, like, state of shock, I felt so bad. I end up letting this Rexy guy through just because I'm like, you know, I made a mistake. I'll accept it. I'll just, like, I don't want to defend super hard right after I killed somebody. So I let this guy go through. That ends up being the wrong decision, I would say. As the race goes on, I actually end up kind of being held back by this guy. And I think that that can cause incidents sometimes when you get caught behind somebody, especially on a track like this, who's slower than you. I'm touching him there, but I'm not actually getting an incident for that. So I'm still sitting at 4 incidents for my murder on lap 1. But I basically just would end up spending this entire race behind this guy. And I didn't want to force anything. I didn't want to kill him, but I also just... it's painful sometimes, especially after you have a race like that last one where it's just like, I feel like I'm flying. My pace is finally there. The guy who I killed is a couple of cars behind us, and I'm ready to let this guy through should the situation arise. But he runs into the wall and actually gets damaged. So that kind of brings him off of our group, and that sucks because, I mean, he wouldn't have been in that position in the first place had I not killed him. I was going to let him through at the end of the race. I don't want to keep a position in that manner, but I also didn't want to let him through right now because there was a guy behind him who would have been close enough to potentially put pressure on us, and I feel like that just could have caused more of a mess. Run into the wall there. That's actually a 0 time, so no contact for that. We're still behind this guy. It's lap number 8. Joey is now hot on our tail. He's 2/10 behind us, like right on our ass. And even in this type of situation, you can see the guy ahead pulling a little bit of a gap through that corner. I was just really slow at that corner. I think if I could consistently nail that corner, I could be doing low 20s just about every lap. But I had some sort of commitment issue there, and I would lose time to just about everybody else on track there. However, this final sector, I was pretty strong at, and I think in this instance, I overestimated how strong at it I was, as I gained a ton of time to him, and then for whatever reason, I don't know, oh my god, okay, this is the Long Beach shenanigans that people talk about. Here's Joey's POV of me literally just at the last second diving this guy, straight up murdering him, and oh my god, that's another 4 times. The safety rating is basically out of the window. We have 8 incident points. I don't think you can really gain safety rating with 8 incident points unless like everybody else in the lobby has like fucking 50 incident points. Lap number 11, we're chasing Joey down, not trying to do anything crazy here. I feel like shit, I've killed 2 people, and Joey's just gonna leave us as well. So he's leaving us on our own as he spins out into the hairpin. Goodbye, Joey. We love you. We're gonna miss you. Good luck in the rest of your race. I hope you recover well. Now, by the time the final lap comes around, like I said, I like to give positions back to people who I kill like that. I'm going to lift good guy Aiden. Look at this. Letting him through on the inside. So sorry about that. Espen is his name. God. This race was a bit demoralizing. I just felt like an idiot. It's like just dumb decisions. Late braking for no reason. Really no reason. Like, it's not like I'm going to make an overtake in either of those corners anyway. There we are, finishing that one in P5, so we have 8 incident points. Yes, we still end up gaining I rating, but losing safety rating, which is kind of the opposite of my plan on this track. We're starting in P3 on this race. Joey right behind us, 20.6 for us. Benji Peterson up at the front. Juan up ahead of him, once again with the crazy time, 20 flat, and he will be running 19s given the chance, as he always does. Let's get underway with lap number 1. A decent launch from us. Is it more decent than Joey's? No, it's not. He is absolutely launched ahead of us. Benji Peterson had a huge launch. The guy in second place. He is putting Juan under some massive pressure, and we fall down to P4. We got Ryan hot on our tail. Ryan Sharpless in the Dirk shooting livery behind us. Able to hold him off, though, so we're maintaining P4 for the time being. And After last race, I'm in no rush. Looking behind, there was quite a lot of shit happening. I mean, car number 21 here trying to make it 3 wide basically into the fountain. Will gets collected, goes through the inside, kills somebody else, hits another guy, manages to get through there alive. That's Will from PRL, by the way. You know him, you love him. Will Rasmussen. And 20 is basically the one who gets ultra fucked there as he's sideways on the track. But that had nothing to do with us. So here we are in P4 following Joey, Ben, and Juan. And this race would end up being a fairly chill one for me, but a pretty active one for a lot of other people, as I really don't do anything this race. I'm just kind of sitting in, well, P4 for the time being, but by the time lap 8 comes around, the leader is going to completely miss the corner. He's going to decide to rejoin the track right as Benji is coming around, and bam, that was definitely, I would say, self-inflicted. Will goes through, who's actually a lapped car at this point. Will has had damage, so he is, yeah, he's up here with us. You see him up ahead of the previous leader, but he's not on the same lap. And Juan rejoins right in front of Joey there, which would not be the last time that happens, weirdly enough, as there was plenty of carnage specifically for Juan to come this race, and some strange decisions by him that would be made. Lap number 14, Juan began to pull away. He's chasing down Benji again. I'm chasing down Joey, and Joey decides to change his braking marker slightly, or I think actually he changes his gearing through the fountain, because I told him I use gear 1, and he said, oh, well, let me try that. So here he goes trying gear 1, and he's going to run into the wall and run into the wall again. I slipped through there without touching him, but huge loss of time for Joey. He does really well here to get the car turned back in the right direction, let people go through safely, and rejoin the track without really affecting anyone's race. I guess there was somebody behind him who probably had to slow down a bit, but nothing major. And we are now up into P3, the leader, or the previous leader, chasing down the current leader, Benji Peterson, and he has made some massive headway. You remember seeing him get spun and losing quite a bit of time, but he is just that fast. By lap number 16, he's pretty much back on the tail of this guy who isn't the fastest driver, Benji up ahead, but man, was he consistent. He was putting in like damn near the same lap every single lap to him. He was driving some great races, and I was driving with him a lot this week. Just really good display by him throughout the entire week. But in this case, he's being chased down by Juan, and this is, I think we're heading on to lap number 17, 19 lap race, so it's coming down to it. You can see Benji taking a slightly defensive line there as he kind of dives towards the inside instead of opening up that hairpin for himself. Weird decision, but it is, I understand it as well. This is, if somebody's going to make a dive on you there and make it work successfully, it's probably going to be this guy, Juan, who's right on the tail of Benji, who's taking a defensive line into turn 1, moving back over to open it up a bit, and Juan looks up the inside. They're going to make a bit of contact. Is Juan going to get that car stopped? It looks like he was, until he takes too much of the curb, slides out. Benji's going to cruise away in the lead, and some strange decision making happening from Juan here as he drives backwards across the track, almost kills car number 9, is driving back through the last corner the opposite direction, doing a nice little like donut kind of turn there, peel 180, and rejoining right ahead of Joey once again. So literally right in front of Joey. He now has no wing. He's fast enough that it's not going to be too much of an issue, but I think anybody could understand being a small bit frustrated as any of the cars that just saw that happen, including Joey, who is now right behind him. Now, as the final lap comes around, we are 4 seconds behind Benji. We have Will on our tail, who, again, is a lapped car, so we're just kind of vibing here, and we're giving each other a nice little wiggle as we head towards the finish line. Boom, that's going to be a P2 for us, a 0 times P2 race. And sometimes this feels better than getting like a win. I mean, a 0 times race is just, it feels so good for the soul. Now, looking at the results, we still gained a lot of iRating at the same time, which kind of tends to go hand in hand with having a clean race. We're almost at B class. We are 3.99, so one more race. We're car number 1. Will is at the front here with a monster time. We're pretty close in times, actually, between the 3 of us at the front. I'm starting in P3, though, and let's get underway. Decent launch. The front 2 are definitely, or well, it looks like P2 is actually completely jumped Will, pulled away. I've been passed by P4, and I'm going to move up the outside, inside of this corner, but outside for turn 1, which we are heading up to. The guy ahead's kind of taking a semi-defensive line. I don't want to do anything crazy here to Will. I'm going to end up backing out. Sometimes you just have to say, oh my god, what the fuck? Okay, I'm sorry. I completely forgot that this happened. It caught me so off guard. I just could not help but die laughing there. Had I literally been one place backwards, this would have been my death, but it was just so ridiculous. I just want to watch it in slow motion. That was the type of carnage that I was more expecting to see when I saw that this was on the schedule. Thank God I was not involved in it. Honestly, I hadn't been involved in any carnage all week, which is just baffling to me. It's astounding. I'm so happy about it. I've been able to just drive my races, and there is not a week that I needed it more. B-Class is something that it was a necessity after this week because there was a 6-hour of Daytona that I really wanted to drive, and you had to have B-Class to get it. Lap number 5 comes around. I mean, we're falling off of Will. We're still in P4. Nothing wrong with that. I just need to keep my incidents down. I could probably get 3 or 4 incidents and still go up to B-Class. Through the first corner, Will is into the wall. I'm going to follow him. I hit the wall as well, but mine, it honestly looked just as bad, but it really wasn't. You can barely kind of tell there, but Will does have wheel damage, and that is actually wheel damage that the sim would force him to pit for. You can see it kind of affecting his steering through here. He said the car felt okay, but regardless, the sim decides, and it determined that he needed to pit for repairs. So that promotes us up into P3. We do have a 2 times incident for running into that wall, but like I said, we only need 0.01 safety rating, so it's okay to take a few incidents. 3 seconds to the next car ahead of me, and if you take a look behind me, it's way more than that. I'm going around the first corner. He's basically just crossing the line. Final lap rolls around. I just want to relish in it, boys. I mean, it had been so long since I have had a 0 times race, and now I think I had 3 of them this week. Crossing the line in P3, that's a promotion up into B-Class, and we gained iRating at the same time, plus 0.47. I know it says C-Class right there, but we went above 4.0, which is technically B-Class. It just doesn't show it here. If you guys enjoyed this and want to support me, please check out my channel and some of my videos there, and I bet you will enjoy those as well.